I got a call from somebody, and he was spitting mad. He said, I want to come on. I want to come on tonight. I want to come on right away. And I said, all right, settle down. What's happened? He goes, no, I'm going to save it. I'm just going to tell you, I'm hacked off about something. Well, he's going to come on, and it's Tom Jones, who's spring-loaded for negativity and then some. He's got something he wants to get off his chest. I can't wait to hear what it is, but it's going to be good. It's going to be really good, man. Tom Jones in just a moment, my former radio partner, of course, a longtime columnist at Tampa Bay Times now, with the Poynter Institute of Media Studies. I don't know that he wants to talk about the breaking news, but what it was today was Rob Higgins. Of course, you know that name, is going to become USF's, I guess it's their CEO of athletics, if you will.
Yeah, they rebranded the athletic director position that Michael Kelly left for Navy a
Right.
month or two ago. They've rebranded
Exactly.
it as the CEO of athletics
And of course,
due
he
to
was
the changing nature of what an
yeah.
athletic director now does in college football with NIL and paying players and all that stuff. It's a much different job than it used to be.
Yeah, you're like the GM essentially, or the CEO, as they said.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody knows Higgins from his work in the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. Has brought Super Bowls here and Final Fours and women's Final Fours and the Frozen Fours, and I mean, just everything that has been great about the Tampa Bay area. Somehow Higgins has been, right at the forefront pitching it. I think this is not a good hire. I think it's a spectacular hire. I don't think there's a guy that was more suited for this job anywhere in the country. He absolutely loves USF. He was doing everything he could there as a student and running around and stuff like that. And when you consider that the stadium is going up, eventually they're going to want to have a major, size conference, um, to move to, and that's going to be helped by the stadium construction. So whether that's the Big Ten or some other conference, I think all these things Higgins is perfectly suited for. In addition to just probably going to be a damn good athletic director, and you can always start there. So I don't, this is his dream job. I would imagine he's a USF former student and helped out in the athletic department and things like that. Can't imagine that how long it took him to say yes once they got the numbers right. This is really a cool job for him.
Well, he said it wasn't a fairy tale ending, but a fairy tale beginning.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and it's gonna be interesting how he does there, and I agree this is a good hire. And I think if you were hiring as someone who was local, he was about the only candidate you could consider
Yeah.
for what's ahead and the way college football is changing, college
Mhm.
athletics is changing, and that job itself, like I said, even 5-10 years ago, it's a much different job than it was now. And I thought they probably were going to go outside, but this was the one internal candidate, or at least local candidate, that was good. It'll be interesting what the Tampa Sports Commission does now. I mean, he's been the executive director there since 2004.
Oh, for them, it's a huge loss, and
Mhm.
so you kind of weigh that as a community. You say, well, wait a minute, what did we just give up here? But you know, he's so well known and so on brand. I think that you know, with the new stadium go up, and this is what's going to help launch USF into a major conference, in my opinion. Um, be that the Big Ten or some other conference, but I think you know it's going to be great for USF. It's going to be spectacular for them. Spectacular for Rob Higgins, who loves that place. It has always been his school and is such a big advocate. But yeah, I hope the Tampa Bay Sports Commission can fill his shoes. It's not going to be easy. All the Super Bowls he brought, the Final Fours, the women's Frozen Final Four, and then the Frozen Fours, and just really
WrestleManias and
so much. I mean, every major sporting event that there is, short of maybe the Major League Baseball All-Star game or something, it has ended up,
yeah, but
right here in
even they
Tampa.
help with that stuff. Or I know like NHL All
Yeah,
Star games. He was a big part of bringing the outdoor game that's coming to Ray J for
yeah,
the
that's
Lightning
right.
in February next year.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
just incredible work. So I don't know who's going to replace him. You can't really replace him. He's irreplaceable. They'll have somebody in here in short order, but man,
was that an intended pun?
yeah,
Replace a bull?
yeah, it's just it's throwing it out there. Um, they'll have somebody in here at some point. Maybe it's Rob's right hand man at the commission. I don't know. So, but I'll guarantee you this: there's probably not many jobs he would have left that one for.
Mm-hmm.
This one, the mama called. right? Like Mama called, you were doing stuff on the end of the bench for the basketball teams not long ago, or so it seems, and now you get a chance to go home and live out this dream and really build something for the future. I think it's a great job, great opportunity for him, and his phone's going to be blowing up because a lot of people out there know Rob, and he'll be hiring some of them, I'm sure. All right, we got Tom Jones coming up here in just a minute. But first, hey, get on down to Breitling Boutique. You know where that is. It's International Plaza Mall. It's been there for a while. It's been at the mall for 5 years now. Where you find it is in the center, second floor. You're going to go into the store. You're going to notice right away the customer service is spectacular. I mean, second to none. They're going to tell you about all their watches that they have, sports watches, for men, the chronomats, the Navitimers, also, sort of athletic watches, if you will, sports watches for ladies. These things are durable, they're beautiful, and they have all kinds of different colored wristbands with which to choose from. And while supplies last, and that's the key, uh, Breitling Boutique has been offering these NFL team watches, 32 teams watches while supplies last. And again, you have to see them to believe them. They are terrific. So go see our friends at Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. And when you do go, please let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, this is an unusual treat because typically we're asking Tom Jones, does he want to come on? Can he come on? Does he have time to come on? In this case, Tom Jones called us and said, damn it, let me on. And so that's what we're going to do. And I'll let you introduce the topic, Tom. But basically, I don't know if you guys. Well, I'll fill people in.
Yeah.
As you know, USF 2-0 with wins over Boise State and the big upset against Florida, 18-16 on Saturday night. They cracked their first AP Top 25 ranking in 7 years. They're coming in at number 18. However, there was one voter named Haley Sawyer, who covers USC for the Orange County Register, that actually moved Florida up 2 spots to number 14 on her ballot with that loss while keeping USF unranked. And my, oh my, I'll let Tom Sawyer explain what Miss Haley Sawyer was doing there. But holy cow, holy pushback, Tom.
Oh my gosh, USF fans are losing their minds. And I sort of stumbled upon this earlier in the day on Tuesday, and then I started following up more closely online as the day went on.
Yeah.
And I finally I got riled up, and that's when I called you and Steve. I'm like, I got to come on. I got to talk about this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I will start with this, Steve, Steve and Rick. Like, I don't know this voter. I've never met her, never heard of her.
Related to her?
No, nothing. Nothing to do with her. Never heard of her. Don't know anybody that knows her, as far as I know.
No, she's on the West Coast. I mean, so yeah.
First, I've never crossed paths with her. So the first I heard of her was this particular incident. Yeah. And I think the thing that got people riled up was she gave an interview, or she was on a podcast, I guess it was. And this clip's going around.
Yeah.
Where she was basically asked, like, hey, what's going on with USF? You're leaving USF out. And her answer was not great. She sort of gave a flippant, what's the big deal? I don't get, why is everybody all riled up? Take it easy.
What she said was, I don't want to get into much of my process or logic.
Right.
She said, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social media and for all your feedback.
Right. And went on to say that essentially there are so many voters on the AP poll that
it's not a perfect system.
If there's one bad vote out there, it's basically not going to screw anybody.
It evens out.
It all evens out. Right. Yeah. And I understand it was a lousy answer. Now, Rick, I have done no reporting on this. I haven't talked to anybody on this. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think happened. And again, this is pure conjecture on my part.
Okay.
Is she gave a really lousy answer because she could not give the honest answer, which was, I believe, she didn't realize that USF had won that game. I really do believe she thought in her process of putting together her rankings and going over the days before's games, she either wrote it down wrong or didn't read it, whatever the case may be. I think she thought Florida won that game, it totally explains why she would move Florida up 2 spots and leave USF completely out of the rankings. And I think her answer, which was sort of dancing around the topic, I think in her mind, she thought that's a better answer than admitting, like, I screwed this up. I had the wrong team. Now,
I didn't know who won.
I didn't know who won. Now, people are going to say, and they're going to come out fired up about, how could an AP voter not possibly know who won one of the biggest games of the weekend, which had this dramatica ending, right?
I see what you did there. Grammatic ending. You're being grammatically correct.
So how could she not know it? Now, I'm going to explain. This is where you can jump in and help me, Rick.
Yes.
I will tell you that I have covered college football games all over the state: Gainesville, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Orlando, Miami, USF, obviously. I don't know if people know this, but you covered Florida, the Florida Gators, before you covered the Buccaneers.
That's right. Yeah.
So you've been to college football games as well. And this also but applies to the NFL too. But I can tell you this, Rick, when I covered games as a columnist in Gainesville or Tallahassee or whatever, college football game, I can tell you I had no idea of anything that was going on in the rest of the country with college football that day. I might catch a score here and there. I might see a highlight here and there at halftime in the press room or whatever. But I was busy working the game that I was covering, and I had no idea what was going on in the rest of the country. Now, I will say this: the woman who voted on this poll that everybody's talking about, she covered a game last Saturday. She covered USC. I read the story online.
That's her primary job, is covering Southern Cal for the Orange County Register.
Right. So she would not have seen the Florida USF game. When people might say, well, that USC's game was late in her day. Florida's game was early.
The USF Florida game, let me just tell you, the Florida game was not everywhere. If you didn't have the SEC network, and I was sitting in a hotel in Atlanta, of all places, and could not get the SEC network on my station, on my TV.
Here's the other thing, Rick, and you know this as well. If I cover a game at Florida at 7 o'clock, say, like I'm leaving my house in St. Pete at like noon. To go cover that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how close she lives to where USC plays, but I also got news for you. When you have to work, and if I have to cover a game or something on a certain day, I don't sit around all day watching sports.
No.
Like I got stuff to do.
You do your life stuff because you're just going to spend the next 7, 9, 8, 9 hours doing sports.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this idea that she doesn't care or she just wrote it, I'm telling you, if I'm wrong, I apologize to her and everybody if I got this wrong. I am telling you right now, Rick, when she was going through her list the next day, to whatever process there is, Matt Baker from the Athletics, our former colleague at the Tampa Bay Times, used to show the paper that he would do it out on a legal pad.
Yeah.
Like scribbles. There was scribbles everywhere. Only he could understand it. He used to post it online all the time.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, when she wrote down, when she went through whatever her process is, I'm telling you, Rick, she somehow either wrote it down wrong or whatever.
She got to Florida and she said, who'd they beat? Oh yeah, they beat UC or USF.
Right.
That's what she said to herself somehow.
Right. Either that or she wrote it down wrong. She meant to write USF and she quickly wrote down. All she wrote was Florida. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I am telling you, that's what happened. So this idea that let's go after her, let's take away her vote, the AP should revamp how they pick their voters is the most asinine, ridiculous. How about, first off, let's show a little grace, because I'm telling you, it was a mistake. She made a mistake. It wasn't purposeful, and it wasn't even necessarily lazy, as far as I know. It was a mistake, and people are acting like she purposely went out of her way.
She slighted them
to screw USF.
How dare you screw USF? Don't you know that we have arrived? Don't you know we took down the Gators?
Exactly.
We deserve ours, and we deserve it right now.
You said it perfectly. I tell you what, Rick, I have a friend who is a huge college football guy, and we spend all day Saturdays texting one another.
Yeah.
And As soon as USF won that game, he sent me, and he's neither a USF fan or hater. He's not a Florida fan or hater.
Yeah.
He's just a big college football guy. And he sent me a note. And he said, "Hey, good for USF. ... Now their fans are going to be insufferable." And you know why they're going to be insufferable? Because they're always insufferable.
They have been for a while, yeah.
But when I used to write columns, there were two reactions I would get to everything, which was, why aren't you giving USF more credit?
Yeah.
And number two, oh, great, you gave him credit. How come you can't give him more credit? Oh, now this idea, now you finally have beaten two ranked teams. Notice I didn't say two good teams. You beat two ranked teams. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how good either.
At the time you played them.
Right. But, hey, credit to you.
No, look, you cannot take away or minimize what they've done. You
Absolutely.
cannot. When they played Boise State, it's a ranked opponent. Notable players. Yeah, they lost Genty to the Raiders, who was their, 3/4 of their offense, but they still had their quarterback back. They had a legitimately good ranked opponent, right? And they beat them. And that was a monumental win for them. And then to go to the Swamp, that's the thing. If they'd have beaten, Florida's at Raymond James, still an unbelievable win, still a tremendous win over a ranked opponent. But to go into the Swamp, to win the way they did, going down the field, kick the field goal, all that, make Billy Napier look stupid with his lack of game management. That's legendary. Martin Grammatica's son, Nico, will be immortalized at that university because you can only beat the University of Florida the first time once.
Right.
And what is the photo of that victory? It's Nico Grammatica in the arms of his holder and everybody losing their stuff, right? So you can't take away that. You can't take
because
away...
2 years ago, before Alex Golesh arrived, and I had my doubts about him as a coach, they would have gone up there 2 years ago. They would have gotten annihilated.
Oh,
annihilated.
Horrible. Yeah.
They won. They went in there and they won. I'm not taking anything away from them.
So that aside, we've given them those are the flowers they deserve and in the national attention. And Nick Saban called it before the game. He said, they got some dogs on defense. I went down there 2 years ago. He's so okay. So the flowers are given out. Now say what you're going to say.
Now you're going to spend the next hour, next day and a half complaining about the one voter who made a mistake.
That's right.
And you're going to sit there and have a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
About that, instead of enjoying the fact that you're number 18. And what do you care what some voter in California has to say about that? The other thing is, Rick, and look, the AP poll, I actually go on that tracker every week because I find it entertaining just to see who screwed up for the week. Because there are people who purposely
who's going to get it now?
Who's going to get it? And here's what I do, and it's the greatest thing ever. I go every week, see who has the most extreme ballot. They have a thing, most extreme ballots, and what they do is you see so that you can go through every individual. I don't know if you've ever been on the AP poll tracker.
No, I haven't.
It's really cool. You go AP poll tracker, and they have all.
So it's full transparency. These are all the voters. These are all the
voters, and they have the 25 teams listed. And you could click on, say, Ohio State, and you could say, they had the highest vote they got was number 1 in the country, and 7 people voted for them, and here are the 7. And the lowest votes they got were number 9 in the country. And here's the bozo that voted for him, number 9. And what they do is, but at the end of the day, they have something called, you could click on every individual voter, and here's their ballot. Okay. And they will have most extreme pick. And what they'll do is, if you vote for a team and they finish 5 spots, either higher or lower than where they actually are in the poll, it'll highlight it and say
as the most extreme. Pick. Yeah, extreme pick. Okay.
So what I do is I go each week, I find the person who has the most extreme ballot. Then I type that person's name into Twitter or X, and then read football college fans losing their minds over this particular voter or that particular voter, whoever it may be. The thing that bothers me about this, Rick, though, is this idea. I really do believe that this was a mistake. I do believe, and I'm going to go back to this again, Rick, about this idea of it's easy for it to happen. It shouldn't. And maybe the next time this voter will take a little more care in making sure she has everybody who won.
Well, if you're going to, a couple things. Well, if you're going to sign up to be a voter, and I don't know that you sign up, but if they select you and you say yes, you're going to fill out a ballot each week. I think you should accept a certain amount of responsibility with that, right? Like I'm not just going to jake it. I'm not going to let my dog pick it. Like I'm going to actually spend just a little time, right? Now, not everybody's different, but like I'm going to take this seriously, okay? So if you're going to agree to be one, then there's that. But where you're going with, and where I think you're headed, is that I don't think people understand that if you do her job, or you do, somebody's job that's covering a college team, right? That's a full-time job. You are not watching college football. You said it earlier. Like, I might, even in the NFL, I might hear the scores. I don't look at highlights until maybe the next morning or at 2
I'm glad
a.m.
you mentioned the NFL, Rick, because I'll say this. You are, and I'm not just blowing smoke here, you are one of the most respected NFL writers in the country. And you
on my
are
block.
You're one of the best NFL writers in the country. And around the league, you're respected as one of the best NFL writers. I don't cover sports anymore. Except for a little sports media here and there. I'm telling you right now, Sunday night at midnight or the next morning, if there was a poll to vote in the NFL, like if there was an NFL ranking, and I had to vote, I knew way more about what happened Sunday in the NFL than you did. There's no question in my mind.
No question. No.
Because I watched Red Zone all day. I flipped around and watched a bunch of different games. While you were writing your story,
I was immersed with one team from the time I woke up at 10 a.m. or didn't wake up at 10 a.m. By the time I got ready at 10 a.m.
Get ready to go and
got to a stadium at 11, at least by 11.
You're doing inactives.
Did all the inactives, did pregame radio, whatever it is. Game starts, and this particular game was like 4.5 hours long. It took forever. Went down to the locker room for an hour, came back up. I'm probably writing till 7:30, 8 o'clock. I swear to you, unless I call up NFL.com, ESPN, and just to see the numbers of the scores, nothing else. Just maybe glance at, oh, wow, Miami got boat race 30-8, right? Something like that. I don't look at any details. I don't have time. I'm immersed
you're writing
telling
a
the story.
You're writing a notebook.
Yeah, I'm reporting. Yeah.
You're doing a podcast.
Podcast later that night. Yeah.
Video, and you're catching a plane to get back home. So
and
you can
I
get
caught
back,
a plane. Yeah.
So you could get back home in time to go see Todd Bowles the next day.
Exactly. Yeah, noon. Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Even it happens even at the NFL. You don't have time to look at everything. Now, again, that doesn't totally excuse.
No.
I'm telling you, she either wrote it down, because I looked at her ballot, Rick. I went and I looked at her ballot. She takes the ballot seriously. It's not like she had, Boise ranked number 6 in the country.
Yeah.
Like everything else on her ballot was pretty close to okay.
Just Florida, USF. Right?
I think she had Auburn. Like she had either Auburn ranked or not ranked. Whatever it was, she had that. She shouldn't have had that. But again, we're talking about Auburn. We're not talking about she didn't leave Ohio State off the list.
Yeah.
So look, when you see that her ballot bumped Florida up 2 spots and left USF out, it's clear that a mistake was made, either in just how she wrote it down or she misunderstood the score, whatever. But this idea, like, we need now to revamp the entire system, or she didn't take this seriously, or the AP needs to investigate to take away her ballot. Calm down. You really need to just calm down. And also think it out before you immediately assume that they're coming after USF. And that's the thing that kind of bugged me. And people are going to say, oh, look at you. You're defending another media member. Partly, yeah, because I know how the job works. I know what's involved, and I know how this stuff happens. It doesn't excuse. Next time, she should do a better job making sure she has all the things. That's the other thing I would do if I were a voter, and I don't vote. I voted for NHL awards before in the past. I actually don't like. I honestly don't know if writers should vote on these awards. I have mixed emotions about that now, but maybe next time every AP voter should maybe like run it by somebody first. Like, hey, just take a look at this. Make sure I'm not doing something dumb here.
But Tom, couldn't she avoided this if she would have just said, "Hey, I screwed up"?
So that's the other part of this, Steve. And I'm glad you.
I wrote down South Florida, but when I put my ballot in, I put Florida. So I don't know if that's what happened, but
I think that's what happened.
Yeah. And so, I mean, isn't it a lot of? I mean, she
But that's an
deserves a lot of
easier.
this
If
criticism
that's what
because she's-
happened, that's an easier explanation, an easier fix than what she did.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
tend to think she just didn't know who won, and she
no,
assumed
I
something
think
like that. Florida won.
Either way,
Yeah.
Rick, whether she wrote it down wrong or whether she like wrote it down wrong as she was going through the like her list
But she
of like
could have
who won.
admitted her mistake, and then
I
forgiving
don't know
world,
that she could have admitted her mistake, and I think that's why her answer was so awful and so
Yeah.
lousy. Like, hey, it's okay, no big, it's no big deal. We'll make up for it. Everybody else, because I think that she knows. And again, I'm going to step way over the line here. Is if she would have said that, I think she would have gotten crushed. I think she thought she would have got crushed worst.
Or would the AP have taken away her vote?
Either, well, I don't know about that as much as I would have worried. I think my guess is that she may have worried that like I'm just gonna get blasted for this. If I sit there and admit like, hey, I made a mistake, I wrote the wrong team. I think if that's what happened, I think that's what she should have done.
Yeah.
Look, and I look, there's another part of this, and as much as people are bending over backwards, there are a lot of people, Rick, who are bending over backwards to say this isn't about her being a woman, which in a way is saying, yeah, this is about her being a woman. Because I've heard of
If it's not about her being a woman, why'd you even mention the fact that she was?
And that's
female?
the other thing that bothered me. I heard public criticism of people saying
misogynistic,
that this somehow like hurts the integrity of every other woman who works in the business. And I think anybody who thinks that is completely off base.
Yeah, easy now.
Again, you're taking something that I believe may have been, and that's the thing. I just wish people had thought it out. Like, hey, could she have made a mistake?
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are basing their feelings on this interview because that was a lot of the tweets I saw where people were, and a couple of things I saw online where people were showing the clip of the interview that she did. Again, I will go back. It was a lousy explanation, and it was a lousy interview. Like her explanation was bad. It was cringy. I get that. But I also, I think she thought if she did make, and again, I apologize if I'm wrong about all this, but I think if she were to come out and say, hey, I wrote the wrong name down, or hey, I thought Florida won, I think she would have, I think she thought that she would have gotten crushed for that. I don't know. I just didn't like let's just all pile on her.
Well, and that goes back to something you said earlier, which is this. And listen, all credit in the world to those players, to Byron Brown, to Alex Golish, what they did, and we'll find out what Florida is made of really, because I have a feeling, looking at their schedule, they may not win with or without Billy Napier. They may not win another 2 games. Two or three tops. I mean, that's just how tough they got to play Texas. They got to play A&M. They've got
LSU this weekend, right?
LSU this weekend. So, if they could, they'd probably let Billy go now. But there's a buyout, and you don't want interim situations because as soon as you fire the head coach, every assistant on that staff isn't game planning. They're looking for their next job. That aside, okay, it's dark days in Florida. And how good is Florida? And we really don't know. I don't think their quarterback's very good at all, which is why I think USF had a chance. But even having said all of that, okay, you've gotten yourself in a position where you're getting national attention. Your players have bought in. It's your what, 3rd year, I believe, with the program, I want to say. But regardless, like, this is your moment, right? This is it. You have this, back-to-back wins over ranked opponents, never happened. And now you're in the top 25 yourself. Please don't mess it up thinking that you're going to go and win the national championship. Like, there's no respect given because you just earned the respect 5 minutes ago. I mean, and again, it's great that you can win the Boca Raton ball. I'm not taking away the accomplishment. Really, I'm not trying to. Okay. But you're a long way from a national championship. And if somebody didn't rank you properly or screwed up, it's not the time to go, see, no respect. USF, there it is right there. No freaking respect. You were relevant 5 minutes ago. Like, what, like, it's
right.
Things happen. And it's not that you're not, I heard like I said, no less than Nick Saban before the game was giving the flowers out to Alex Golesh and his defense, you know? And I've seen the guys play. The first thing I said after I saw the Boise game was like, man, they got some dudes now. They got some guys that get after it on defense. Like, these guys are not afraid. Like, they are here to knock some people backwards. And it's been fun to watch. It's a great, maybe the best story in college football right now, truly. Like,
Yeah.
The most unexpected sort of run. Let me just say this. If they beat Miami, they're going to be in the college football playoffs, because I can't imagine there wouldn't be so much wind in their sails that they wouldn't rip through the American, or whoever's left on that schedule. But USF fan, calm yourself down a little bit. Like, it's great to celebrate after the games, but don't start with this, look, we're getting no respect. I mean,
I just didn't like this sort of mob mentality of going after this particular voter.
One person, yeah.
She was, by the way, 2 other voters left USF off their ballots.
Yeah, and where's the phone calls to them?
Well, and that's the thing, and that's, again, if you want to jump on those voters, and because if those voters are,
but they didn't rank Florida ahead.
Maybe
of them,
their explanation was,
yeah.
Look, if you look at her ballot, it's clearly a mistake.
Yeah.
And then you have to. So that's the first part of this. Instead of just immediately flying off the handle and saying, "Oh, we're getting screwed."
Yeah, she screwed up. Somebody screwed up.
Try to at least like, okay, how did this happen? Clearly,
this has to be an oversight. You pretty much know it has to be an oversight.
She made a mistake. She wrote the wrong name down. Whatever. Now, if you want to jump her like she needs to be more diligent with it, fine. I get that.
Yeah. No,
but let's not act like,
oh,
she immediately needs to her ballot, her AP ballot taken away. The AP needs to reevaluate how they hand these things out. By the way, clearly it has nothing to do with who gets in the playoff. Just so you know. Ultimately,
the AP.
Yeah.
No,
the committee's
probably one of those.
Does it matter a little bit?
It's probably one of those things the committee might look at some point, but I don't know why.
So I don't know. I just didn't like. Again, I didn't like the mob mentality over something that clearly was a mistake. Rick, I covered sports for 30 years. I've written the wrong score down before in stories. I've made mistakes where I said one team won a game when I didn't mean to say that team. Like, there's a lot of things going on, as a sports writer. Doesn't excuse it. I'm just saying it happens.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I just didn't like the mob mentality of something that was clearly a mistake. And again, I think Steve makes a good point. Like, if that was the explanation, like, she didn't give a great explanation. And I think maybe that's why people were riled up.
She just didn't give one, period.
No, right. And she sort of sloughed it off and made it seem like she doesn't take it seriously. And I don't think that's what she meant. I just think she realized, like, I think she got backed into a corner and thought, oh, how do I explain it? Instead of saying I made a huge mistake, I just said, like, hey, it all works itself out. Which, by the way, it does. Like, them leaving her off didn't, like, leave
I don't
USF
think it.
out of the
I don't
top
think it
25.
not made them, fall down 10 spots.
Right. Or keep them out of a
championship.
Or out of the playoff or anything. So anyway, I was riled up about it. I'm still a little bit riled up about it, just because I hate to see, anybody sort of get attacked for what I think are honest mistakes. Maybe that's the phrase I should have used from the start. Like, I think it was an honest mistake. It wasn't a purposeful slight of USF.
But it's the cover up that always gets you in trouble.
Amen. Yeah, that's, the Watergate break-in wasn't that big of a deal, but covering up the next 2 years cost Nixon the presidency. You're right.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob Woodward, for that.
Yeah. There you go.
No, there's no question. And the other thing is, unfortunately, we live in a time, and Tom, you write about a lot of things in the Poynter.org. And you have a podcast of your own, by the way, if you want to plug that. But in media, and in particular, sort of the climate that we live in these days, with respect to social media, people with a lot more power and influence than a sports writer. I think this is, sort of where this is all kind of emanating from. We live in this intolerant type society where nobody can make a mistake, and everybody has a megaphone, and everybody has some grievance that they want to air. We could do every night. We could probably do mean tweets, right? of just personal attacks. Everyone seems to be in attack mode. I don't know why, but that's what I
Well, and
noticed.
that's the thing. I think
It
that's
shows up in sports a lot.
Yeah, no, that's why I brought up earlier about the word grace. Like, I think we have to show a little more grace sometimes. And I got nothing wrong with hot takes. I got nothing. At the end of the day, it's sports, so we're not curing
It's supposed
cancer.
to be fun. We're not curing cancer here,
right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I will say that I think if you were this particular situation is a perfect example, and this is something that I think I try to do a lot. I wish I wish I was better at it sometimes. Is that when something happens, instead of immediately like I need to say something, I need to say it now. I need to tweet it out. I need to, put out a video tweeting this, blah, blah, blah.
Take a breath.
Take a breath and say, okay, what happened here? How did this happen?
Or even like saying a game that you're watching and you see somebody getting, beaten pretty badly and you just go ahead and declare them dead and then they come back and they end up winning the game. Like you can look stupid doing that too.
Or exactly. Or, hey, I'm blaming it. Somebody gets burned on a play. Oh, that cornerback, they should cut him tomorrow.
Right.
Well, it wasn't his man.
Wasn't his guy. Yeah.
It was a blown coverage.
He's trying to cover up for the dude that blew the coverage. Yeah.
Go back to Monday night. And because I did this too. I was on Twitter. I never tweet. By the way, I got a funny, not a funny, but I got an interesting Twitter story in a second. But I rarely tweet, but I'm on Twitter a lot. And I just typed in the other night, JJ McCarthy. This is at halftime of the Minnesota game. And people were talking like this is the worst draft pick since Jamarcus Russell. Like this guy is awful. And then by the end of the game, he was
National
Uncle
hero.
Fran Tarkenton. He's like greatest quarterback in Vikings.
Caleb Williams was terrible.
Yeah.
So
I just, like I said, sometimes I just wish we just take a breath and try to understand when something weird like this happens. Like, how did this happen? Again, I just go back to this. The voter moved Florida up and left USF out. At that point, you have to realize it was a mistake.
Yeah.
That wasn't meant to happen. So what I was going to tell you about the Twitter thing, and this leads me to one quick thing, if you have a minute, Rick, because I want to get your take on this.
I got all night.
So about a week ago, and this is again, I end up ultimately showing grace, although I'm going to blow it now. Was about a week ago, I started to formulate a tweet in my head. It was going to be my first tweet in months, but I started to tweet, hey, isn't it about time that Ryan Clark says something about another media member and then has to apologize for it?
No, you weren't.
I swear to God. I started
that would have been so
it.
prescient. That would have been unbelievable.
And then I thought, you know what? That's a real cheap shot. That's unfair. It's a cheap shot. I shouldn't.
Until it
Ryan
happened.
Clark's minding his own business. He's doing I like Ryan Clark, former Steeler. Doing a good job. I like him. I think he's a really great analyst. But I started to tweet it and then I stopped. And then he came out and he says what he says about Peter Schrager. And that's what I just wanted to get your take on. I don't know if you talked about it with Steve or not.
No, we didn't. Actually, it's a good topic.
On Get Up last week. And they were talking about CeeDee Lamb and the game he had.
Yeah.
And at some point, Schrager made a point and Ryan Clark there's more to this context, but he immediately said, he basically said, I probably shouldn't say this because this might be rude to say on the air, but that's the non-player talking. And he was talking to Schrager, and Schrager got really offended by it.
Immediately, Schrager got on him and said, "Oh, don't do that. Don't belittle me like that."
And then Ryan Clark tried to back up. He's like, "Wait a minute, I need you to listen. It's not about you. It's about me." Although you didn't. Like the better way that Ryan Clark could have said it was, instead of saying you never played, is to come back and say, well, let me give you what I saw as a former player. Here's the way I looked at it, which would have been a perfectly fine way to do it.
Sure.
And then he put out an apology, Rick, that said that he, by the way, he apologized. He apologized on social media. I don't know if he has apologized on Get Up since then.
I don't think he did. I think what they did the next time they were on together, I don't know when it was.
I think it was NFL Live. They
did like Monday. A fist bump, which I guess we're all supposed to know what that means. I don't know.
I guess it would have been nice because this is the way that if you
said
say
it on
something,
the show, you should apologize on.
You should apologize on the platform that you made.
Absolutely.
You made your whatever it was you did, and. So I would have liked to have seen that. Now maybe he did do it and I just missed it or whatever. But in his apology, which by the way was dropped in the middle of like 5 other tweets about a game, it was just like, oh, so and so really looked good on that play. Oh, so and so needs to plug the gap on that play. Oh, by the way, something happened today. I apologize. And then like a tweet later, like 2 minutes later, he's back to the game. But in that apology tweet, Rick, he said, I regret something that he said on the air and then off the air. So apparently it carried
they said it got heated off the air after that segment.
I didn't know if it was after
did.
or he said it before and then he brought it up again on the air.
They didn't say what happened, but they said it carried on off the air and got heated. Is what
and
people said.
I'm telling you, Rick, it's I don't. Front Office Sports had a story that suggested that Ryan Clark might now be on thin ice. Clearly he hasn't been punished in any way, and I don't know that he should. But Rick, I'm telling you right now, a couple of things, and other people have pointed this out. Front Office Sports did a really good job with this. Number one, Schrager's stock is really high at ESPN. Like, they brought him in from the NFL Network. I think they have big plans for him. They're talking about him ending up with his own show, sort of as ultimately in that time slot to replace Around the Horn or somewhere in that time area.
Well, ultimately, and I don't know that this is in his future, but because one day I think Greeny was gone, he hosted Get Up.
Oh, I could see him ending up hosting a show.
His own show, yeah.
Get Up, or be an NFL related show or whatever.
Yeah, some big ESPN franchise, yeah.
Absolutely. So that's one thing. But here's the other thing, Rick, and you know this, like, you can't have, and I know ESPN feels very strongly, somebody even mentioned, like, they're really strongly against ESPN on ESPN Crime. Like, you can't have somebody on your air saying to somebody else and essentially telling the viewer, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you don't have the credibility. Like, when you undermine a colleague's credibility on air, that's bad. You just can't do that. And I know he's had some other incidents. He had a thing with RG3, but RG3 was no longer working there, but it was sort of a thing that he had to come out and apologize for.
It was about the race of his wife.
And it turned ugly and personal. And I'm sure ESPN was just like, what are you doing, man?
Here's what I think about Ryan Clark, and I don't know him personally, and there are times when I find him informative and interesting, and occasionally he says something that makes me think, which is what I want in the first place. But I do think, and you know this, Tom, because you write about media all the time, and it's this way in life, and it's this way certainly in media, and that is he got to be a pretty big star at ESPN, and your star can rise pretty quickly there, and you're on multiple platforms, and you're on all the time, but things change so quickly in media. Like, you could be on top, and I mean on top, and then it can be over. And when I say over, I mean no one hires you again. Like, just, it's done. We move on so quickly from media people, from former players, right? From whoever that voice is. And they're just waiting to replace you. And eventually everybody will get replaced, including me and everyone else. But especially on national, you know how many people want that chair? You know how many people are qualified for that chair? You know how many people are more relevant than you are for that chair?
Think about the people who are stars on that show. Dan
Orlovsky,
who is fabulous, by the way.
He's tremendous.
Absolutely,
and I know
fabulous.
Dan personally because I covered him.
He's a third string NFL quarterback.
Always, yeah.
And
yet
I
covered him in Tampa.
So, and that's not to belittle him.
No.
Let me be clear about that. But what I'm saying is that just goes to show you how much talent's out there, that you have a guy who did not have a spectacular NFL career by any means.
Heck no.
And it's now really good. And you mentioned, Rick, about how quickly things can change. Jeff Van Gundy was as good a basketball analyst as there ever has been in the NBA.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, one day, boom, gone. Jalen Rose, boom, gone.
Jalen Rose, yeah.
And you could name Kenny May. You could name NFL people all over the place. Here's the thing, Ryan Clark. The thing I really liked about him, and I do like about him, is there are often times where he's so thoughtful in his analysis. Like, he's really careful with what he says, and then to say something that is not well thought out. And I almost don't. Well, he said it, so ultimately he's responsible for it. But Rick, ESPN, if there's one thing that ESPN does that I would really keep an eye on if I were them, is sort of oversaturating um, their airways with certain people, because when you put somebody on TV for 3-5 hours a day and ask them, like, be good, be smart, have interesting takes, have hot takes, you're gonna say something stupid at some point. Like Stephen A. Smith is on all the time. Eventually, he says something dumb.
Yep.
Rick, you and I did radio for 5 years. We were on 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
I said plenty of dumb things.
Give Josh Freeman $100 million.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Josh Freeman. Yeah. Actually, the bad thing is I actually thought about that one. I said something one time. Remember, I said something really dumb on the air about Eddie Robinson. It was stupid. And I don't even know the point I was trying to make, but we were taught you talk 100 miles an hour and you eventually say something dumb, really dumb.
You got a lot of hours and a lot of content. And the more they put you in front of that microphone or that camera, and you're trying to entertain and not be repetitive and do all that stuff, you're gonna put your mouth into it. But I think your foot in your mouth. But I think too, we could have a whole conversation, another podcast about media and sports media in general. I used to go to ESPN for certain things, and now if I turn them on, I only get, like you said, I'm going to get Stephen A., Mike Greenberg. And again, I'm not in their league. These guys, far be it from me to criticize somebody that's making, $20 million a year doing media. But if debate is all we're about, right, and it's 24/7 debate, and you're just moving guys from one show to the next show, and it's the same people having basically the same debate, then I'm bored. You've given me too much of the same meal. I don't want it every night, and I think that's kind of, I don't like where TV's going or media's going, necessarily. It's just everybody have a hot take, don't suck, that kind of thing, what Rome used to say.
Right.
But that's all there is now. That's all there is, are these bigger than life personalities. And it's not just covering the NFL. They show up in the NBA. They show up on multiple platforms. Hell, some of them are on Meet the Press,
Yeah.
And are political now. Now they're political pundits. Stephen A. may run for president. Like, when did we get here? How did we get here, Tom? You write media all the time.
I'll tell you how we got here. I'll tell you exactly how we got here, Rick. And I see it with CNN. You see it with Fox. You see it with, like, no one's exempt from it. It's cheaply produced television. It's much easier.
Cheap content.
Cheap.
But you're paying them $20 million. I mean,
but true. But instead of spending the hours, so you have 8. Get up. Let's just take ESPN for example, or let's take. I'll give you a better example. Let's take CNN. CNN has a show. I forget even what it's called. CNN Tonight or Newsnight. It's on at 10 o'clock at night. Abby Phillip hosts it.
I've seen it.
Scott Jennings is on there.
On it, yeah.
And then they'll bring on some other, and then it's just a free for all. It's a bunch of
it's a bunch of guys fighting.
It's outrage. It's outrage debate for an hour.
Bombast, yeah.
Right. But Rick, it's easier. Like, let's get 5 people. Let's put them on a panel. Let's run a couple of short little clips of what Trump said today, or what Carolyn Levitt said today, or what Gavin Newsom said today, and then we'll talk about it for 20 minutes. That is so much easier to produce than let's have an hour of an investigative journalism piece.
No, that's true.
Something that's going on. And the same thing with ESPN. We could spend at 8 o'clock every morning doing in-depth pieces on Andrew Luck and what he's doing these days, and what's the future of Jerry Jones. Or
I never thought about it
that
way. Yeah.
And it's cheaper to do it that way. And at the same time, let's get people outraged. Let's get them fired up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biggest point of all, Rick, is let's create a moment that goes viral. Let's create a moment that we could put on Twitter, that we could put on Instagram, that we could put on TikTok, whatever, and get people talking about this show. I guarantee you that a lot of the people who see some of the things that Stephen A. Smith says, or that Jimmy Fallon says at night, or Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart, they're not watching Nobody
No,
watches the.
they're
I don't
seeing
know
it
if
on
anybody
social
watches
media.
the Daily
Yeah.
Show live.
Right.
They watch it the next day on YouTube, or they watch the clip that they get on their Facebook feed.
Well, and not only that, but the networks and them, they're so desperate for viewers, right? So desperate for an audience because that's how they make their money. And you're right about the production costs. I haven't thought of that. But what they will do, and I think Pat McAfee is an example of this. Now it's going to be Dave Portnoy on Fox. They're buying followers. That's all they're doing. They're buying an audience, right? This guy has a massive following on Instagram or on the internet, like McAfee did. Pay him $30 million, $35 million, and we're going to take on all those people. It's like, I mean, they didn't do this intentionally, but if Taylor Swift goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, they got a hell of a lot more Chief fans, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it's become. It's become like, well, how many followers does he have? Okay, well, if we put him on, then all those people are going to, because they love him, they're going to watch our show, and now we have an audience. Now, game day, we said goodbye to Lee Corso, hello, Pat McAfee, and all your followers that, watch you every single day.
Not only do you gain more followers, Rick, you gain more followers in a demographic that you want, which is
correct. Young people.
You got.
Yeah.
I don't know what the average
people,
age
right?
of Portnoy's audience or Barstool, and pardon
it's
my
young.
take.
It's my son's 30. It's his favorite. The first thing he does every day, and he lives in Denver, is turn on McAfee. First thing.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people who listen to Pardon My Take. I mean, it's one of the best, most listened to podcasts, and I guarantee you, a lot of their listeners, a bulk of their listeners, are young men, which is a demographic that's hard to get.
Yeah.
So
that's all interesting. Well, good stuff. Hopefully, your niece out there in full disclosure out there in Southern. No, she's not related. Miss Sawyer, not Diane. From Diane Sawyer to
Tom Sawyer. Of course, that brings us back to Rush, from Canada.
Right.
Which means hockey season just around the corner.
It is. We'll be talking Lightning hockey here very, very soon. No doubt about it. Well, thanks. We need more outrage from you. We need more. I'm
outraged about the outrage.
Well, I'm going to call it, instead of bombast, we're going to have a new segment. It's called Tombast.
I love it.
You like that?
It's good.
I just came up with it. I just branded this segment. How about that?
Perfect.
Yeah. So thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Sounds good.
All right, the Rays are going to continue their series against the White Sox. The Bucks are off again today because of the Monday night game. They'll be back, of course, on Thursday to begin practicing for that.
Yeah, the Rays won 5-4, but it looks like as we're taping this, Seattle's winning. The Guardians won. The Rangers won, so not making up any ground.
Yeah,
today, Ryan Pepio scratched tonight for fatigue.
All right.
So Griffin Jacks will start a bullpen day. Now, Pepio's up to about 160-some innings this year.
Yeah, he is.
130 is his max, or what he's done max in his past. So
that's a good point.
It'd be interesting if this is just a one-time scratch or if they kind of shut him down for the season.
Well, the innings is one thing, and also fatigue. I mean, this is a guy that, for whatever reason, every time they were playing in the afternoon, his term came up.
That's true.
He pitched more, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock noon games, I think, than they had anybody on the staff. It just always seemed to roll that way. He's a big, strong kid that made it through. But, maybe the innings are catching up to him. Go see our friends at Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. You'll find the beautiful NFL watches while supplies last. 32 NFL team watches with each of the team logos on them. They're spectacular women's watches for your wife, your girlfriend. It is Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Thanks for listening, everybody. For Steve Burstink, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day.